Welcome to Know Your DNA's podcast, where we journey into the intricate landscape of DNA, health, and the innovations of at-home care. Every episode promises new discoveries, insights, and the science that impacts our daily lives. I'm Alex, and I'm thrilled to guide you through today's exploration. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Know Your DNA's podcast, everyone. Today, we're diving into a topic that's been on a lot of our minds, DNA and our health. We're thrilled to have with us Dr. Jordan, an expert in genetics and personalized medicine. Dr. Jordan, how does our family history play into our health risks?
Thanks for having me, Alex. It's true that when we talk about health conditions, we often hear it's genetic or it runs in the family. Basically, our family history can indeed provide clues about potential health risks because we inherit certain characteristics from our parents. But the relationship between genetics and health is incredibly complex. So while family history is a piece of the puzzle, it's not the whole picture.
Speaking of genetic clues, there's been a lot of buzz around at-home DNA test kits. Can these really tell us what health risks we might have?
At-home DNA test kits are quite popular these days, and they can definitely serve as a starting point for understanding genetic health risks. However, it's important to keep in mind that these tests aren't definitive. They can suggest certain risks based on your genetic markers, but there's so much more to health than genes alone. My advice is always to discuss these test results with a doctor or a genetic counselor for a more comprehensive assessment.
You mentioned genetic markers for risks. Could you give us an example of how knowing about those markers might affect someone's health choices?
Sure. Let's say a DNA test indicates you have genetic markers associated with a higher risk of alcoholism. If you choose not to drink alcohol, you've significantly slashed that risk, despite your genetic predisposition. The point here is that genetic risk is just one factor among many that affect whether or not a health condition will actually manifest.
That's reassuring. But what about diseases that require specific genes from both parents? How do those play out, and can DNA kits pick up on that?
Great question. Certain conditions like cystic fibrosis require a child to inherit a specific gene from both parents for the disease to develop. If they only inherit it from one parent, the risk can be minimal. Sometimes that's why these diseases seem to skip generations. While DNA test kits can give some insight, only a detailed medical screening can truly identify where you stand with these inherited conditions.
How have recent advancements in genetics changed our understanding of inherited diseases?
The sequencing of the human genome back in 2003 was a huge leap forward. It gave us a reference for what we consider a healthy genome. Since then, we've been making incredible strides in linking genetic mutations to health traits. Rather than looking at single mutations, researchers now use risk scores based on various genetic variants to evaluate someone's likelihood of developing a disease. Remember, these aren't diagnoses. They're tools for guiding your lifestyle choices.
That brings us to a big concern for many, cancer. Can at-home DNA tests indicate whether someone is at risk for developing it?
Cancer risk is a top concern for sure, but we need to be clear about what DNA tests can and cannot do. They won't diagnose cancer or provide a specific risk level, especially if you already have the disease. However, DNA tests can be a conversation starter with a genetic counselor who can offer a more detailed risk assessment. They can motivate healthy lifestyle changes too, but should not be used to make major health decisions or as a source of undue worry.
Okay, so these at-home DNA test kits are not end-all be-all diagnostic tools, but they can be valuable in prompting us to learn more about our health, right?
Absolutely. At-home DNA kits should indeed be viewed as a screening tool, not a diagnostic one. The information they provide can encourage us to improve our health and lifestyle. And while results usually don't come as a huge surprise, they can definitely serve as a catalyst for making positive changes in how we live.
Dr. Jordan, it's been a fascinating chat. You've shed so much light on DNA testing and health risks for us. Any final thoughts for our listeners before we wrap up?
Just that knowledge is power. The more we understand about our genetics, the better we can make informed decisions about our health. Just remember, it's all about the bigger picture. Genes are just one part of the complex jigsaw puzzle that is our health.
Wise words indeed. Thank you so much for your insights, Dr. Jordan, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Remember, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and stay on top of your health. This is Alex, signing off from Know Your DNA's podcast. Stay curious, folks. As we conclude another enlightening episode of Know Your DNA's podcast, I hope you're leaving with a renewed sense of wonder about the world within us. From the strands of our DNA to the choices we make for our health at home, it's all a journey of understanding. I'm Alex, thanking you for being with us today. Stay informed, stay inspired, and we'll connect again soon.